everybody, I'm Sarah and I'm a recorder player. Yes, this is the recorder that I saw being made in the recorder factory from the video last week. If you haven't seen that already, go and check it out, see how this transformed from one block of wood into an instrument. Today we are going to be jumping into an introduction to contemporary techniques. I love playing contemporary music. One of my favourite things is that you can really make it your own, and each of these techniques is like a huge spectrum that you're free to explore. A lot of you write to me and say that you'd like to get into contemporary music, but you're not quite sure how to tackle your first piece. A lot of these techniques, it can be quite daunting and you think, how is that meant to sound? I thought I would give a simple introduction to a whole bunch of the most common contemporary or extended techniques on the recorder, how they sound, how they're mainly notated, so that when you find them in your music, you're not like, what is this? It just makes it all a lot more manageable. It's worth noting, I'm going to play you a bunch of the techniques, but this is by no means everything. It's definitely not the only way to play it, and it won't be the only way to notate it either. A lot of them came out of experimentation, so the composers would be like, okay, I'll write it like this. There's not always a standardized form of notation, so I'm going to give you a few of the most common examples. Let's get started! Fluttertongue is blowing whilst rolling your R's, like brrr, or you can also do it with your throat, the It's most often notated with some diagonal lines going through the stem of the note. Sometimes a composer will also use text. They might write fluttertongue, or also in German, the fluttertongue. And often they also put FLZ for the fluttertongue. It's kind of velvety. Multiphonics! It's where you are playing different registers of the recorder at the same time. Then you hear something like... So not only are you playing chords on your recorder, it can sound really spacey. Often a multiphonic will be notated with numbers referring to your fingers, like 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, and then you just find the breath pressure needed to make that multiphonic happen. Sometimes the composer might change the note head into a triangle or into a block so that you know that that's multiphonic. And in this example, the composer has used a cross and a block note head and a little circle to show this is a multiphonic. Sputato is where you build up a lot of pressure behind your tongue, and so it's a really strong articulation with your tongue muscle. Not necessarily blowing any harder, it's with your tongue muscle. Sputato is often notated with a cross note head, or a cross on the stem of the note, or sometimes a cross within a circle, but the cross tends to be like, sputato, do it like this. Whistle tones or flageolet tones are really special. These are shown with a small open circle above the note. You play a whistle tone by actually blowing far too little to produce a note, and at a certain point you hit the harmonic. To hold it there takes quite some practice, but it can make a really special effect. Singing and playing at the same time. I did a whole video on this already. Singing and playing is actually most often notated with the vocal part and the recorder part on two separate lines. You might also get a passage where it just says sing and play at the same time, and then you sing along with your recorder melody. Sometimes a composer will ask you to swap between different fingerings for the same note to change the sound colour. For example, I've seen this notated with a little cross and a circle above the notes. For example, the cross is the normal one and the circle is the alternative fingering. Or sometimes they'll just put a symbol onto the notes that should be alternatives and the rest don't have anything at all. But this is usually explained in the key. Glissando! Glissando is this. Sliding from one note to the other by gradually sliding your fingers on or off the recorder. Glissando is almost always notated with a diagonal line connecting the two notes. Long notes of indeterminate length. Sometimes you will see a blob on your save and then just a long line after it. This means a long note, not necessarily of a set value. It might say a number of seconds above it, it might just let you play it for a long time. And sometimes the line will go up or down at the end, meaning to give it a little glissando. A jagged zigzag line like this on your stave means move your fingers randomly. The really fun thing is that you can change this a lot with your air pressure. You can make explosions, crescendos, kind of secretive burbles. I like this because it kind of enables you to act out a part in the music. Pitch bending. Sometimes you will see a note with like a little smile above it or an upside down smile. So the one like this goes down, so you do, and the one that goes like this goes up. When you're doing these, it's not a full note, like, but just bending the pitch by putting your finger half over the hole. This brings me to finger vibrato or flutterment. This is where you use your finger to kind of shade the hole to make a vibrato. Again, it's not a full finger, like, but you're shading that note. I have seen this notated in a number of different ways. It's almost always with text. For example, in this piece, it's written as QFV for quick finger vibrato. But it's also often written as flattement, flat, or just FL. And if you see only FL, look in the key to check that you're not getting your flattement and your fluttertongue mixed up. There are a number of ways in which you can blow into the instrument differently. You can blow half into the recorder and let the rest of your air escape, like this. You can choose to hold the recorder sideways or angle it downwards and blow over the top. Whichever one you think sounds the best. Sometimes a piece of music will ask you to blow into the labium. It will probably show this with text. Maybe even with your fingers moving at the same time. And there is also white noise, where you block the labium with your finger and sound like the wind. There are a lot of percussive sounds. For example, a piece might ask you to hit the bell of the recorder with your hand. I've seen this notated with these kind of smiley note heads. it might ask you to make a percussive rhythm with your ring. Then I would put your ring on like the middle knuckle and then you have a lot more control. And I've even seen a piece with this kind of triangle note head that means you have to stamp with your foot while you're playing. So you get to dance at the same time. And there is also trilling between two notes. This is often given by putting the two notes that you play next to each other and then diagonal lines between them. And the note value is how long you should be holding the whole thing for. And there are a whole bunch of techniques that might not have a specific notation, but it will just say it with words in the score. For example, burbles. That is where you take your finger and run it up and down the three holes. Labium vibrato, where you use your hand over the labium to create vibrato, obviously. Tongue vibrato. I do this by basically going, oh. Or even shaking your instrument while you play. That one is very weird, but composers do ask for it, and it's a cool sound effect. They might also ask for the highest pitch possible, and you can do this by wrapping your hand around the labium and was a brief introduction into a whole bunch of the sounds that you can make on the recorder. How do you tackle this within a piece? The first thing I want to say is that every sound that's included in that piece has a reason for being there. Often it can feel with contemporary techniques, it can feel like we're playing those things just because it's written there and you end up going through the motions. But really try getting into that sound, imagining what does the composer want to say with this? Do they want it to sound like the wind, or like an explosion, or like someone laughing, or like an animal? And really try and explore everything you can do with that sound. What is the slowest, the fastest, the highest, the loudest, the softest, the most subtle you can get with that sound? Because these sounds are your tools to mold and shape this piece into something that's really part of you. So enjoy the process. Then I would say take it one step at a time. Don't take a contemporary piece and try and play the whole thing through in one go, because you'll just end up like, ah. Maybe tackle one technique at a time. Start with the fluttertongue, and then the next time do the percussive things. And then when you do try and string them together, also concentrate on the connections between the notes. How does this air sound blend into the multiphonic, and how does this percussive sound give an impulse to land on a harmonic? By giving yourself the time to do this, you can really create your own story. Please let me know what you thought of this video. I love contemporary music so much, and it makes me really happy to hear from people that have been able to get into it because of these videos. If you have questions, requests, things that you want to hear about, please let me know. Thank you for watching my video, Introduction to Contemporary Techniques. Please subscribe to Team Recorder. You can do that by clicking on my face down here. And don't forget to turn on the notifications by clicking the bell icon down below. Up here, I'm going to link to one of my first videos, which was recorder sound effects. It's actually tackling a lot of these techniques, but in a more playful manner for how to use it with children. I have to tell you, children love contemporary music. They don't care, oh, it looks complicated, it sounds strange. They're just like, yeah! What am I talking about? Have a nice day. Bye!